comes to studying mania. The founder of the Italian futurism and a lifelong fascist, he was also one of the most influential personages in the history of modern art. In his futurist manifesto of 1909, he says, "War is beautiful because it initiates the dreamt-of metallization of the human body. War is beautiful because it enriches a flowering meadow with fiery orchids of machine guns. War is beautiful because it combines the gunfire, the cannonades, the ceasefire, the scents, and the stench of putrefaction into a symphony. We will glorify war, the world's only hygiene. Militarism, patriotism, the destructive gesture of freedom, brings beautiful ideas worth dying for, and scorn for women. We will destroy the museums, libraries, academies of every kind. We will fight moralism, feminism, every opportunistic or utilitarian cowardice." Makes one think of the movie Dr. Strangelove, this kind of mania loose in the world. Not some psychotic though, not somebody who's been locked up in a asylum somewhere. These are the top thinkers of the world, people whose thoughts and manifestos change how we think and act. Herman Kahn, in his On Thermonuclear War in 1960, calmly considers whether or not a death toll of 50 million human beings would be an acceptable, quote-unquote, statistic to ensure that democracy prevails. Jordan Maxwell and some other scholars who study the astrological cycles and chart what these evilarchies are up to, and once you know what they're into, then you can sort of follow what they're up to and get ahead of the game. We've come to understand that we're in what we call the Saturnalian period, or what they call the Saturnalian period, when chaos and debauchery is permissible. We're in what the Hindus call the Kal age, and what also might be called the Dionysian age, when all forms of debauchery and depravity are let loose upon the world. This is the period when all kinds of virtue and morality, as the ancient texts were saying, are thought of as vices. Julian Huxley, in the preface to Brave New World, says, "As political and economic freedom diminishes, sexual freedom tends to compensatingly increase, and the dictator will do well to encourage that freedom, in conjunction with the freedom to daydream under the influence of dope, movies, and radio. It will help to reconcile his subjects to their servitude, which is not their fate." In Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, he writes, "Sensual pleasures programmed into people as infants through hypnopedic messages repeated thousands of times as they slept. These messages encouraged sexual promiscuity, attendance at mass entertainments, and the ingestion of drugs for any and every unpleasant feeling or little distress." You know, the idea here is not to have people actually have more sex, but to engender frustration that they're not able to. In George Orwell's 1984, An Animal Farm, he says, "The past is completely eliminated. History is revised. Books are destroyed. Without print media, there is no evidence that anything has been different. Even keeping diaries is forbidden. People are expected to absorb and accept the new information delivered by the television sets, even if it directly contradicts the news of a month ago. Since it is impossible to prove the contradiction, it is useless to try to resist." And is this not the exact situation we find ourselves in today, where people not only believe the media, but in believing it, they're filled with contradictions? But who stands up to write those contradictions? If something on the media repeats and repeats and repeats the same message, eventually 80% of the population just blithely accept it. In the book Being Human, we read, "When faced with a life-threatening situation, the reptilian hindbrain, the most primitive part of the human brain, switches off all activity except that which keeps us alive. It sends the subconscious message, 'Do not move, breathe, or blink, or you will be seen and attacked.'